Ribeye out. 3, 2, 1. The overtime edition begins. We have no time to catch our breath. Let's get back to it because we got questions about Ben Henschel. Chris, is this guy actually existing? No, we're talking about Ben Henschel's timeline, NBA draft, the processes and protocols, whatever we're going through here, and some thoughts about overseas rules differing. So what can you tell us just as we sit here wrapping up the week about Ben Henschel and how Texas Tech is standing with him?
Okay, so this has dragged on quite a bit. I think some people are very invested. Some people may be, fatigued by the Ben Henschel topic. Yeah,
Hello.
but it's a real thing. Okay, and I think he's he would potentially be a pretty big piece to what you're trying to put together if you can make that happen. So there was 2 deadlines, one of which has passed before you can pull out of the NBA draft. It's very confusing. We tried to clarify, and I think we're able to do that the second deadline is what applies to Ben Henschel. The first deadline was for college players to maintain their eligibility for, again, it was essentially for people that were already in college. And that doesn't apply. I think it's June the 15th. I don't know the time of day, if it's 11 p.m. Eastern or whatever it is. And I don't know if it'll take that long. So I'm clear here. There's been a lot of chatter that Texas Tech leads for him. We have tried to report a lot of this on RedRaidersports.com. These are from national folks in either our network or the network that we are likely to be a part of coming up in a matter of weeks on 3. I had been told that you were in really good shape there. I don't believe there's been any paperwork signed by this player in Texas Tech, so that needs to be clarified. I was also told that he may be heading elsewhere too. That part I can't confirm either. But I would say that you have, it appears, identified a couple of other international options. These are taller guards, which tells me, again, I think they just would prefer another piece. I think Henschel's clearly the one that they had identified 2 months ago, ish, and maybe much earlier than that. But we became aware of it about 6 weeks, 2 months ago, whatever. And he's obviously good enough to go through the draft process. I still have not seen him go through or be mocked in the 2 first and second round NBA mock drafts that I continue to look at. That doesn't mean anything. Those are mock drafts. That's and short of him getting a guarantee, it just doesn't appear that he's a slam dunk to get picked, much less be picked in the first round.
Yeah.
I think there's times when a team will go, we will if you'll stay in the draft, we will guarantee you these dollars. We'll pick you in the second round, but we're going to go ahead and guarantee it. Like it's like a wink deal. And he may be like, cool, I'm good with that. Like I'm ready to move on to this phase of my life. There is also, I think it needs to be pointed out, there are some eligibility questions as it relates to him. I have 2 schools of thought there. One is I was made aware of this. Then there's also folks in and around reporting on the University of Florida that are saying the same. They have mentioned academic. I was never told that term. I don't know what that entails. Is this credits? Is this you haven't gotten enough to I don't know what all that entails. I just know there's eligibility questions and concerns about him for whoever were to get him in college. But then my counterpoint to that would be, I just for the life of me do not think that Grant McCasland would have spent as much time and effort, pursuing this player if they couldn't get that part figured out.
Yeah.
I just don't know if I would buy that. So that's where we sit right now, and we'll see. right now we wait. And I know that's what sucks. I hate waiting as much as anybody, and I'm ready to get this thing finalized. And
Well, you did touch on something that was asked also, and I forgot to give a shout out to those questioners: Seth, Sage, Curtis, Ryan, Eric, Kyle, Lou, Mark, and DeMarcus, all asking about Henschel this week. But one of the questions was about something we talked about, I think maybe a week ago or on a previous episode for sure. But the plan B possibly being we're going as is. My team is on the floor, but it sounds like maybe there are some other targets that could come in to side if it's not Henschel.
Yes. What I'm need to be careful about is there is a huge unknown for me as it relates to the level of player here. I'm going to say that they're not going to bring in somebody unless they feel like they can help. As we talked about, I think the analogy that I used was like, with the Smokey and the Bandit Trans Am way back in the day, you don't have a fancy shiny car like that and then not have insurance on it. I don't think you want to chance anything here with a potential run at a conference championship and a this or that. I think you're trying to put your best foot forward, and so I think you're trying to figure that out. And so it appears that they do want another guard. I just don't know. I can't begin to tell you. I mean, is this tall and skinny? Is this skilled and small? Is this like, man, he may not help us this year, but I mean, I don't know on what layer we're. Okay. If we're getting to the plan B, I feel like Ben Henschel. Even Ben Henschel is somebody that I think that you would see his best in late December, early January compared to when you first get him. But how much time is he going to miss this summer of not being a part of the offseason if he were to join you? I mean, I think, it's there's a component to all that. So anyway, sorry for being long-winded.
We can rule out short and fat. They're not going to go in that direction. You didn't mention that category, but I just want to go ahead and say not going after a short, fat guy. Tall, skinny, short and skilled, maybe. Short, fat, doubt it. Unless it's a coach's kid. And most of his kids, I hadn't seen them be short and fat just yet. This question here from Jarrett: Big 12 title game or college football playoff game in Lubbock? If you can only go to one, which one are you going to?
Hold on, ask it again.
Big 12 title game or a college football playoff game in Lubbock? Chris, this is easy.
Is it? Okay, well,
I'm LBK all the way. You know me. I'm trying to shop local. Yes. I think I'd have to go with the LBK scene. I think I would. That'd be a madhouse.
I don't disagree. I just think that there's some component there of only one of those games is somebody handing you a trophy, and you're putting that banner or putting it up in your stadium for forever. Like there's something about that to me, neutral site and all that, but I can't.
And we've never been.
And then that's part of it. That's part of why I come at it from that standpoint. That would be a new one. Either one, man. I'm at a 10. I mean, I am wired for either one of those scenarios. Those are the holy grails in that sport for Texas Tech football right now, simply because you haven't cracked the code. I would love to see what Arlington Tech. I was just there. I just was at the Ranger game. I took a picture of AT&T and sent it to Joey, and I said, we'll be back here in early December. I flat out did. And I mean, I just think that Lubbock would set that place on fire. I think you would put 100,000 people in that deal, and I think it would be a ton of Texas Tech. It would be one of the hottest tickets that championship game has ever had. Having said that,
you bring up a good point, though.
I mean,
we'd set Lubbock on fire too, but maybe we should go out of town to set something on fire so we come back and ours is still okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Like go light Jerry's house on fire.
Yeah.
I would love to be alive and participate in either scene.
Yes.
In Arlington or back in Lubbock yes. I mean, inject either one of those into my veins. But if forced to choose, God, that sucks. Because it would be the biggest home game in your program history. I think it would eclipse probably the Texas game in 08 because there's so much on the line.
Yeah.
This is a new thing, right? And
I just love to. I can't. With all due respect to the Cowboy Stadium guy, I'm sure he's fine, but the vibe set by the PA guy in Lubbock is just unparalleled, and I can't imagine they got anybody at Cowboy Stadium that's going to equal that. So I just have to throw that in also probably. Tough question. Would love to hear from you in the Matador Mob or in the YouTube comments as to how you would answer that one.
I think
I'm going for the hometown party.
I think the PA announcer in Lubbock knows where to get well marbled ribeyes. I think
there's no question about it. Used to dance under a similar name. This question here. Oh, wait. I got to finish this one from Jared, actually. He says he's going to Vegas. How much should he put down on Tech to win the Big 12 this year? All of it. My answer.
Okay. Yes, and I think the only problem with what you've said there is define all of it, because is that your savings? Is that just your Vegas fund money?
Is that money.
This is just my Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday trips money? Is this just the one day? I mean, define all of it. Yeah, I think you feel pretty comfortable with putting a decent chunk down, and just everybody can define what decent chunk is to them. But
that's another name I used to dance under. Decent chunk to the main stage. Decent chunk to the main stage. This question here from Joe: are we anticipating any more baseball staff changes beyond Matt Gardner? I thought I heard you maybe allude to this not being finished yet on a previous episode, or maybe I was just hearing things.
Well, what I've said is I wouldn't rule anything out. I think I said typically when you do make an announcement like this, a lot of times if there are other changes, you'll just kind of do it all at one time. Like, for example, when Joey, when they sent out, hey, Coach DeRuiter and Coach Yates, good luck on your future endeavors. We're going in a different direction. It was kind of like a tandem announcement, if you will. Yeah. When you're so, I wouldn't rule anything out there. I believe there's probably other things that will be adjusted or changed. Yes. I think that may take some time to play out. I think that could depend on what you bring in and recruiting and the like. But I think that, I'll just leave that there. But I wouldn't say everything's just totally finalized with all that stuff.
I got to be honest. I don't really even know what to expect as far as a baseball staff change timeline. We hadn't had much practice here. Unfortunately, we've had some practice and some precedents set with some other programs, but I wouldn't even really know how to anticipate Tadlock's style because you hadn't changed much over the years.
Because you're still trying to finalize your basketball staff, and that was what, 2 months ago?
Has it been?
Yeah, 2 months ago, in early April, when Matt Breyer and Luke Barnwell and that whole deal, and I think you've had several GAs leave and go with one or both of those head coaches or whatever it is, and you haven't officially said anything publicly there. I still maintain Chris Nottingham, I think, is a candidate for promotion. But even then, if so, who takes the place of what he did last year? And you still need an assistant. But again, every coach is on their own timetable. I think the guys we're talking about have earned the right to be trusted. And obviously, Grant's a little bit hotter right now, but Grant's never been to the College World Series or his version of that. Tim has. It's just been a few years ago, and I think the confidence level is much higher in Grant right now than Tim. But I mean, Tim's earned the right to figure this out how he wants to. And
I'll say just the change in general, it's probably got some Tech baseball fans leaning in again, because I think there was some real and legitimate questions as to whether or not you'd even get the change. Kind of hard to consider after a season like that, but he's built up so much equity, deservedly so. And I don't know if you would describe him as stubborn or not. He's probably earned that if he is stubborn in those ways. But I think there was some real questions asked about, are we going to see change after this? Because it's been kind of a precipitous slide in the wrong direction. But the fact that he's willing to change some things probably has some maybe leaning in a little bit with some more interest in.
I don't know if it's stubborn as much as it is. Could you argue that he's guilty of being too loyal? That's fair.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, is he guilty of being too old school? I mean, I would listen to that.
Well, he's had his same collection of guys almost the
Yeah.
entire time. I mean, there's been very few that have come in and out of his staff, whether like coaching or the volunteer assistants or consultants. I don't know if he has those, but you get what I'm saying. His crew has been pretty consistent.
Yeah, I mean, large in part, it's been the same group that got close to the top of the mountain, and that also is kind of brought it back down the mountain a little bit in those terms.
You need this. You need the rain to appreciate the sunshine, or something like that. One or the other. I don't know. Maybe it's all part of the circle of life. Nick is asking this question: any word on the A&M basketball home and home? Is Bucky Ball not wanting any part of this?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything going on with that home and home. I really don't. I do think you are. I do think you are on the cusp of agreeing to a home and home, like in the non-conference, that I think would be not A&M juicy. Okay. Like that there's not many that would check that box. I mean, A&M or Texas or I don't know, like a blue blood, like a Kentucky or something like that. But this would be if they can get something done, I think people would be very excited for the one home game. But I can't even say for sure that that's what it is. I just know that there's more work going on because right now LSU neutral site, Duke neutral site, Wake Forest in the Bahamas, it appears. Thank you, Matt Painter. And then either Purdue or Memphis in the Bahamas. There's still one more window. And if you listen to the director of Big 12 basketball, like who's in charge of all that at the Big 12 meetings, they went into like, hey, we're playing 18-game schedule. This is what everybody wanted. We're going to roll it back. We're not going to do the 20 anymore. We have talked to our coaches religiously about how important non-conference scheduling is. Like, and he went out of his way to say, we had 7 bids last year. The SEC had 14. You want to know why that is? We didn't do our part in November and December. We will be paying attention to a variety of other things at that point of the year, but those are real. Those results really matter. I think what he put, or the way he put it was, you'll know what kind of conference year you're ultimately going to have based on what everybody's done in November and December. And I think the SEC dominated the landscape in November and December last year, and the Big 12 was not very good. It's just the facts. And I think that they really tried to talk to these coaches. Are you trying to schedule just to make the NCAA tournament? Or are you trying to schedule to be like a 1 seed? I think what he's trying to talk these coaches into is like, do what you want, but try to schedule to try to be like a 1 or 2 seed. Again, you know your team, you know your program. Not everybody can say that, but yeah, I think there's more to come. I guess is my point on the non-conference schedule.
All right, good to know, and I'm glad we're not taking any time out of our busy schedule to give a hand up to a dead basketball program. So whatever, maybe we feel generous in another point in time and say, Aggies, you want a little of this shine? We'll rub some off on you. But as for right now, we're too busy. Have fun with Bucky. Is that a real name? I don't even know what he means by that, but good luck. This one from Lance. This question a little more interesting to me. Only a few more to go, so I want to make sure we get this one in. Lance asking, was there actually an offer on the table to return for Darian Williams if he had chosen to do so?
No, I don't think so. No. I don't think it ever got to that point, Cowan. I think that upon the process of portal window, the end of season, I think he kind of got into the portal and declared that he was going to go through the draft process. And I don't think Texas Tech ever put anything in front of him at all. I don't think that was ever an option for him. There was a lot of rumors. It's funny how some of this stuff gets started. I had a variety of people text me, "Hey man, any truth to this D5 meeting with all these donors?" I'm like, first I've heard of it. Doesn't mean it's not true, but first I've heard of it. and then I was getting some specifics on individually, like who was running the meeting or who was in the meeting. I just happened to bump into one of these people that were mentioned to me. I said, "Hey, man, I'm just going to ask, but did you have a big meeting with it's kind of explaining this." They go, "What are you talking about?" I go, "That's what I thought." I was like, "Because your name's being tossed around quite a bit." I was like, "Just good for you to know." And I think there's zero truth about any of that. But I just don't. I think that was never a possibility. No, just because I think, as we've touched on, everybody kind of, once you get to the point of like, this is what I'm going to do. Okay, that's what you're going to do. Okay, well, if that's what you're doing, then I guess we'll have to go do this. And then everybody, I will say this. I do think that Darion Williams or his camp at some point midway through this process did start to reach out to people saying, I think there's been a misunderstanding here. We're only going to the NBA if we're this pick, but if not, we're coming back here. Even then, I think that the ship had sailed.
That's the Costanza trick. Quit. What quit? There's no quit. You thought I was leaving. Sorry. Yeah. No, this ship has already sailed.
The shrimp store called.
Okay, interesting. And maybe remember next time around who is on Twitter or wherever else suggesting such things to you out there. And I don't know, maybe you just don't pay attention to them next time around. We were getting a ton of texts in the Matador Mob that day about these secretive meetings. And I think it was all just Twitter accounts stirring it up. I don't really even know where it began, but there's the end of it right there in today's Matador Mob mailbag. One more before we get out of here. I got to include this for our guy, Jeff. He wants to know if Texas Tech football winning a national championship required Chris Level to have a cherry in every drink for the rest of his life, would he do it?
1,000%.
1,000%, Jeff.
Yep.
That's the answer we want to hear.
I mean, yeah, no, I mean, yeah, that's, I appreciate the loyal listenership, Jeff. I mean, El Jefe, I think is who sent that in, but yes, without a doubt, man. Yeah, bowl full of cherries every day for, I don't know, whatever, but yeah, absolutely.
That's right. And I'll eat an Impossible Burger. I'm trying to think of something I would really just despise. I'll give me some lab-grown meat for a national championship. I'll be dead in 5 years, but give me I'd do it for a natty. I do it for a natty. All right, Chris, appreciate you doing this for us, some extra time for the mob. And thanks to the mob for all the questions. Keep them coming around the clock, anytime on any subject, of course. Enjoyed it as always, man. Have a great weekend.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate it. And yes, thank you, Cowan. Thank you all the folks that they're part of the mob. We certainly appreciate you. This thing is, did I hear rumor that this is one of the top mob groups or the subtext groups in the entire network?
I think we're number 2. There's only one mob.
It's the power. Okay, true. It's the power of the double T, man. Because I think we've been asked, what all is going on in Lubbock right now? I'm like, man, people are excited. It had nothing to do with Calvin and I. Yeah, it's electric. That's right. But no,
it's locked on Texas Tech. We're doing our part to row this boat. We just need some of these teams to keep up with us. We're in pursuit of a softball national title right now. That's a good start. But yeah, no, really appreciate you guys for assembling in the form that you have. It's been mind-blowing and a little bit mind-confounding on occasion regarding the questions that we do get. But I'm happy to explore any subjects. We're not putting $1 billion into United Supermarkets Arena. It was a local jackwagon radio DJ who put out an AI article. For God's sake, will you guys discern what is AI? I don't know how many questions we got about that.
In my father-in-law, I'm at a recent high school graduation for my nephew, and my father-in-law goes, "Why are they putting all this new money in this place? This place is awesome." And I go, "Please tell me you're not referring to this article on Facebook that is circulating $1.4 billion or whatever."
Well, I'm sorry, I went hard on your father-in-law right there.
No, he deserves it. He deserves. He's not listening to this. I can assure you, he deserves it. Okay, and I was like, man, you're officially an old. You can't be buying into get back to playing farmland on Facebook, man. Stop reading fake articles.
We got questions about that too, though, and I'm thinking,
yeah, oh, geez.
It takes about 2 seconds to figure out what's bull or what's not. All right.
Yes.
Appreciate you guys for joining us as always. Hope you have an excellent weekend, and we'll see you on the other side.